But we're going to talk about the game. There is a big interview that's going on at the minute as well. We're going to put some of the quotes up for you. So Jim talking about this Man United squad. Some of it, boys, some of it is damning. It really, really is. But on yesterday's game, I think I want to start with the football match yesterday. Kunle, what did you make of Arsenal's performance? Why do you think he was so limp for large parts of the game and struggled to break United down, unlike midweek against PSV?
It's the same stuff. Like the manager gets too excited with something working and just goes with it the next game. It's just his thing. Like he can never just like single out this game. It worked for this team. Let me try something different for another team. And it's the same. Like Marino as the number 9, just for me, it never works for the start. I've been saying it since. Comes on last 20 minutes, team's tired. He has to do a little bit of running and stuff that it could be quite effective, but there needs to be a different solution. That's number one. Number two, Martin Odegaard has gone missing, mate. He's been missing for like 4 or 5 months. I don't know what's going on with the guy. I don't know. Is the captaincy weighing harsh on him now? I don't know. But something's wrong. Something's really wrong. People are telling me he doesn't have a killer pass in him anymore. Of course he has a fucking killer pass in him. Excuse my language. But he's just not using the right passes at the right moments anymore. He's always doing the Hollywood stuff when he should be doing the simple stuff. He's taking the shot when he shouldn't take the shot, passing it when he should shoot. It's just crazy. He's making all the wrong decisions right now. And when the team needs someone to stand up and be that driving force, he's never there. Like obviously, Declan Rice bailed him out yesterday again, but he needs to be asked a lot of questions this summer. I'm not talking about getting rid of him or anything like that, but something needs to change. Is it Arteta's tactics? I don't know. But
what about a positional change?
I don't like the thought of putting him in the 8 personally. I don't like that, but a lot of people have been saying that. But I don't know. Something needs to change with him. But that front three just stinks, and Mikel Arteta needs to figure out a solution for it until Saka gets back. I don't. Obviously, Sterling's not the solution, but I don't know.
Can I throw out what I think a solution might be, though?
What?
Maybe you just need to change approach. So let your PSV game, you did well because PSV attacked you. So there was a few gooners that came on that match reaction and said I was a little concerned because PSV created chances. But the fact that they opened up, they committed fullbacks, they committed midfielders into their attacks. You had the space to operate in. You had a higher line to play against, and you had more space to operate in. This is where I think Arteta has to be more adaptive. So you're playing Chelsea this week that like to attack. Give Chelsea the ball. And I know that there's always this sort of pressure that fans and pundits, but you're at home or you're the better team on paper. The onus is on you to attack. Says who? I watch the UFC on a regular basis. Sometimes a fighter goes out and attacks. Sometimes they'll counter depending on who they're up against. If that's a weakness, if a counter attack is a weakness against an opponent, why would you not do it? And that's where I think, for instance, Man United exploited Arsenal yesterday. And Amorim doesn't get anywhere near the credit he deserves because he's done this in a lot of the big games. He knows how to make United hard to beat in these matches. And he's done it consistently. You look at our performances away at Arsenal and at home, away at Liverpool, away at City. These were all games where we were predicted ahead of time to get battered. But the manager has adapted. The manager has made some changes, and he's got the best out of the squad we've got. I actually wish he'd do that more. I don't want us to be the aggressors against Fulham at the minute because their attack's better than ours. And I just think that's something Arteta has got to look at here.
Yeah,
give the ball. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so he doesn't do that. That's the issue. He doesn't adapt. He sticks to his ways. But on top of that, in his defense, there's a lot of not in his defense. There's a lot of things that are confusing me. It seems like the players are overthinking every time they have the ball. Every time, like instead of just quick movement, someone has to drop a shoulder, drop another shoulder, take an extra touch. It seems like all of them are doing it, which is the thing I was complaining about a few bumps ago, saying how it feels like Arteta knows too much about football now, where he's giving the players too many instructions where they're like, I don't want to mess up. Oh, let me hold on for it a bit longer so I don't mess it up and make sure. And that's how it looks right now. And everything we're doing just looks really like even the first half was decent. I believe there was enough openings for us to score a goal, at least take the lead. But even with that, the second half, like you lot dominated us for the second half. It was embarrassing that a team like you, 15th in the league, no offense, played us off the park. Like it was actually ridiculous. There was times like if you watched the tunnel TV reactions, I was sweating for the whole thing. I wasn't myself. It was long. It was literally long.
Can I throw this question out to the panel about that? And great, yep, I love the praise for my team. I'm going to talk about Man United in a minute, but let me just play host for a moment here. Do you think, in defense of Arsenal, there is an element where those players are just absolutely resigned to the fact that the title race is over? Does that take an edge off their game, David? And is that understandable in the circumstances?
There's just less to fight for now. They're currently Arsenal are safe from the teams below them. And I don't think they're going to end up fighting the teams below them. But there's such a massive gap to Liverpool. Whether Declan Rice wants to come out and say, "Oh no, we still believe," no, you don't. It's not true. Arsenal would have to win all their 10 games, and Liverpool would have to lose like 6 out of their last 10 for it to even be like close. So they're currently in a situation where they're not on the beach, but it's kind of like, as long as we win the games that we should.
They're in no man's land, David. That's where in that no man's land.
You're just like in the middle. You know what I mean? You're in the middle of nowhere. Like no one, like you're not really scared of a Forest or a Chelsea. Well, you're not scared that 4 teams are going to overtake you. So you're probably going to win Champions League.
You're going to finish in the top. They're going to finish it. They're going to finish in the. They're in the top 5. They are not dropping out of that. So yeah.
Yeah, so they're just in the middle of just sat there, and currently all they've got to play for is a Champions League. That's it. So their Premier League, like, oh, we've got to get that goal, doesn't really matter, because ultimately getting an extra point is actually quite useful for them.
When we say they're guaranteed to finish in the top 5, I'm not so sure.
Oh, come on, Henry.
No, like, I'm not coming on here looking at it from a Tottenham perspective. Like, they have got some tough games coming up. They've got Everton away, Liverpool away, Chelsea away. They've still got to play Newcastle.
Chelsea at home.
Sorry, Chelsea at home. Like Forest as it stands are what? 4 or 5 points behind. If Man City string a run together, it's not like set in stone that they are going to get Champions League football next season.
So Man City just lost this weekend, and you're talking about them putting a run
for Arsenal to drop. For Arsenal to drop out the top 5, Brighton are on 46 points. They're in 6th. Do we think Brighton are going to do a 9-point swing on Arsenal to end the season?
Well, I think Everton will beat Arsenal, and I think Liverpool will beat Arsenal.
Yeah, but
that would require Brighton to win every single game.
But it isn't. Again, Henry. But this is what you got to look at. Again, forget the maths. People focus on the maths of the league table, not the probability. For Arsenal to come 6th, it means Brighton, they're on a 4-game winning streak, to be fair, the greatest in their history, right? So they've never won more than 4. They've never won more than 3. So are they going to keep doing it? But for Arsenal to fall out, it means Brighton, City, Chelsea, and Forest all have to have a better record than Arsenal in the last 10 games. So it's not about mathematically, is it possible? How likely is it that Arsenal's form is going to be so much worse than all of them? They're even 4 points ahead of Nottingham Forest. And if you look at the last 5 games, okay, so they've drawn 2, won 2, and lost 1 Arsenal, okay? Forest in that time, they've won 2, lost 2, drawn, the same as Arsenal. Chelsea have won 3 and lost 2. City have lost 3 and won 2. Brighton's form is actually really good with 1 loss and 4 defeats. So if you look at their run rate all season and their current run rate, it is so unlikely based on probability that all of those teams end the season like 5. It would be 5 points. It would be 5 points, 9 points, 10 points, and 10 points, and 10 points better than Arsenal. The probability is so low, it's almost impossible. I guarantee you, it's about someone can run the maths. I'm going to guess and say it's 2,000 or 3,000 to 1 in terms of probability of happening. It's minuscule, bruv. Honestly, it's not going to happen. It's not.
It probably won't happen, but I'm not saying it's a guarantee that Arsenal do it. They are there. I think if they get through
it's more than likely, yeah.
Yeah, it's more than likely. If they get through to the next round of the Champions League, like the last 3 games in the Premier League, it's just there's like David said, there's no bite there. There's no let's just get it to next season and keep playing our Champions League games.
Yeah,
That's what it looks
Is that,
like.
what, is that what you're hoping for, or is that what you?
Yeah,
I
but this
don't
is what,
care where you finish.
but
I'm more worried about like,
Henry,
Ange getting sacked.
Henry, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen though in about 4 or 5 games time. There's going to be a lot of teams playing for absolutely nothing as well. So what you're going to see is just a number like we always, you get those mid block worth of teams that are from about 10th down to about sort of 15th normally. With 5 games to go, can't get relegated, can't make Europe. They're all on the beach. Arsenal have got a few of those matches. They'll win some of those. Liverpool, by the way, will win the league in a few games' time. And then they'll start losing matches because they'll start prioritizing Champions League. Their players will be hungover and on the beach, as an example. Yeah, I just don't see that as a worry. What I'd be concerned about from an Arsenal perspective, though, is can they turn it on and off for the Champions League games? That would be more my message to them. Is it's harder to, if you're starting to lose focus and sort of concentration, can you turn it back on when you play one of the Madrids in 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time? That's more of the question mark I would personally have on that.
That's what he has to do. That's literally what he has to do at this point, because there's nothing else to play for but that Champions League. So he needs to be motivating the players to I don't know, be fighting to be starting in those games. I don't know what he needs to do, but the team talk needs to be crazy.
This here says, Terry, it doesn't matter if Arsenal finish outside the top 2. That's a failure. Well, look, they've failed on their season objective in the Premier League, which was to win it. So, but I do find it ironic, though, about this, and I don't know if you see this, Kunle. The Gooners that will say if we end up finishing below second now, it's an even bigger disgrace, are the same Gooners that say second and 17th for the same position. So, it can't be those two things. Yeah. Whether they come second or fifth and they make it into the Champions League, I don't know if it really matters from this point. If you believe that second place and 17th place are the same league position. So I'm intrigued to know what the viewers think about that. Arsenal Avenger here, Kunle, says, with Martinelli and Saka back, we should be okay. Do you think that will give you the boost you need?
Do you know what? Martinelli looked quite bright when he came on yesterday. I'd like to see an option of maybe Martinelli, Trossard, and Wanyeri as the front three rather than Marino. I'd like to see what that looks like. But he looks bright. Let's not... all these Arsenal fans that were like, yeah, when Saka and Martinelli gets back, I was like, yeah, when Saka gets back, we can start getting excited. This Martinelli thing, like, I've not been excited about him all season, so why now? One of them.
This year says, Terry, why don't Arsenal get respect for consistency?
Well, consistently finishing second. Is that what you're asking for?
That's the only logical. I don't know, mate.
You can't just
I don't get it.
If you're a big club, you can't just be content with coming second. Naturally, you just want to win. If you're good enough to come second, there's probably a good chance you're good enough to come first at some point.
But you know what it is,
Especially
David? You know what it is? That's the problem with my fan base. They're seeking respect for all the time. It's like when we win 3 games in a row, they're like, "Oh, give us our win a league, then we'll get the respect from everybody." Like that's all we need to do. You know what I'm saying? All this reaching for milestones, like second place 3 years in a row. We've really tried. Give him his flowers. Yeah, we can tell Arteta. Don't get it twisted. Arteta's done a great job to get us challenging. He definitely has. But the extra respect that we're looking for, we're only gonna get once we get it over the line, and that's the reality.
Genuine question, Kunle. You mentioned Saka earlier. That he's supposed to be back soon. Obviously, Martinelli came back on the weekend. If Arsenal, let's just say Saka's not 100% ready for the first leg against Madrid, and Arsenal go and lose that game 4-0, and it looks pretty much like season's done, would you still bring Saka back and play him in these games, or would you just sort of tell him, listen, go have a break, make sure that hamstring is 100% rested up, and we'll start again pre-season? Or do you bring him back for we might as well get him try and back up to speed for in the last couple of league games, even though there's a good chance they're ultimately pointless?
Do you know what, Tom? This is a hard one, because a lot of the Arsenal fans are not gonna like me for saying these things. First of all, it's very difficult for me to believe that we're going to win the Champions League. It's very difficult, and I'm sure you lot on the panel can understand why. Some of my fan base probably can't understand why I'm saying it though, which is for different reasons. I don't see it. So even if Saka's not 100% for the Madrid game, don't risk him. Let him come back when he's 100%, because the chance of us winning the Champions League are slim. We can maybe do it, but Protect this boy
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
this is
yeah.
his first big injury, man. Let's protect him, man.
You are spot on with that. You have to be, if he comes back 3 weeks early and that hamstring snaps again, you don't want to create a Michael Owen type situation with him in that regard. And this is where football fans have got to sometimes learn to be more mature. We always act like it's every season's a going out of business sale. And if I don't get those jeans on discount here, I'm never going to get them jeans ever again. There's a new football season next year. And sometimes you have to think about not writing off the season you're in, but in the case of Saka, if he isn't ready to return, he shouldn't be rushed back. He absolutely shouldn't be. On your point on consistency, sorry, Kunle, I want to just add something to that. This is where Arsenal fans have also got to learn to be patient when it comes to punditry as well. I spoke about this earlier on today. A big Arsenal account put out a thing about, hang on, City have bought terribly, spent 200 million and still worse than us, still further behind than we are, yet they're not getting the same scrutiny of us coming second or being in second. And I thought, look, you're ignoring the fact that they did a 4P, a treble, 100 points and everything else. However, hold on to that. That's the standard that's been set. Not that you have to win that amount of trophies, but if you do win the Prem next season and then retain it, and then the year after that you drop off like City, and that's 5 years in title races, then you drop off and you don't get the sort of the credit in the bank, then you can complain about it. However, I do think you'll always get bitter journalists and bitter rivals, but I do think if last season you'd have won the Champions League, the season before that you'd won the FA Cup again, and then had this season, I feel there'd be less scrutiny on Arsenal. So in terms of respect for consistency, I think most people recognize that you become a consistent challenger, or as you know, Arteta said yesterday, you're in phase 4 and he's looking to get you into phase 5, as he would call it. But there comes a point where, well, you've been a consistent challenger now. You're Arsenal Football Club. You're a giant football club. The next stage is winning those trophies. So you were first judged, and listen, most level-headed football fans could recognize you needed a real club rebuild. You did it. You got congratulated. You became title contenders. Well done. You now become consistent title contenders. That's great. You've got to start adding those trophies and major trophies to the hall. I don't think it's about a lack of respect from the majority of people in relation to that.